Welcome to A Shot Between the Reels. My name is Dan. And over on this side,
Brendan,
it's Brendan. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Dan?
I'm doing well also. It's good to be here. We're yet to have we're here again to have another frank discussion about movies. One movie in particular tonight. Brendan?
This evening, Dan, we'll be talking about Inside Man, a Spike Lee joint.
Yeah, yet another Spike Lee joint. I
Mhm.
realise we've already done a Spike Lee joint, haven't we?
We have.
This is episode 15, so congratulations to you, sir. Um, and But this is number 2 for Spike Lee already, so
It is already.
maybe we'll have to just hold off Spike Lee for a few at least. Um, but yes, Spike Lee joint, Inside Man. This was a request from someone on Facebook, on not Facebook, YouTube. One of the
Mhm.
comments,
Yeah.
someone put, "Can you do Inside Man?" So we're doing it. There you go. I
Yeah.
remember seeing this way back when. What was it? 2006? Is it?
Yeah,
Like,
it's a
yeah.
little bit older now. Yeah.
I think I saw it around that time. I I think I saw it on DVD probably.
Yeah, I
Uh,
don't think it's not like one of those films that I think I saw at the cinema, but I saw it again. Yeah, I saw it on like home video type thing.
cool.
Yeah.
So shall we go straight in for our rating, and then we can just chat about the film?
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, my
So,
phone's making noises. Ah. Anyway, Brendan, tell
my
us.
My rating is 4 stars.
4 stars, Brendan.
Yes.
Okay, so my rating for Inside Man is also 4 stars.
Yay!
Yay! We're in sync clearly on this one. I think, yeah, I really enjoyed revisiting this one. I remember kind of enjoying it the first time. Um, but yeah, why don't you, Brendan, tell us a bit about the plot?
Yeah, so Inside Man is basically a heist film, I suppose. It follows mainly these unknown people that are entering the bank, and they are taking something from there. They say they're doing a robbery, but you don't know exactly what they're robbing. I mean, at first you assume it's money, but then they're kind of after the safety deposit box. And then as time goes on, you discover what they're actually trying to get hold of. And then through that, also, we're following maybe, I suppose, really one central character in Denzel Washington. We do have other supporting players, but mainly it's focusing on his character, which is Detective Keith Frazier.
Yeah,
And he is kind of going through the motions in the story, or he's been given this case and it's a big deal for him, and he wants to make his mark, I suppose, and then everything else kind of plays around that. So it's seeing how the heist plays out, and we jump around in time quite a lot in the film, but it's good.
yeah, yeah. It's for me. I, I thought it was a lot of fun, like that, playing around with time and kind of seeing all these different parties that are interested and are invested in the store in what's going on in the bank, and sort of seeing the interviews with the people who were kind of the hostages.
Yeah.
And then you find out that actually not all of them were hostages. Some of them were actually part of the crew trying to heist the bank,
Yeah.
which is very clever. And so you see that stuff before the actual kind of bank heist is resolved. So you kind of know that they don't catch them. So I thought it was really interesting. I like Spike Lee. Um, he just brings a kind of energy to his films that is quite unique, actually. Um,
Yeah.
he loves quite I would say, slightly over the top music in his score, but it's kind of soulful and funky as well as kind of like a movie score,
Yeah.
which I think is great. Um, but yeah, I like how Spike Lee makes his films.
Yeah.
Um, but there's lots of good stuff about this film. Brendan, what do you want to talk about?
I think it's interesting. I made quite a few notes because I was talking about, so what do I want to say about the directing and the acting performances in general. I think his directing style, revisiting this film, I think the first time I watched it, I don't know if I really even kind of recognized that it was Spike Lee. So going
Yeah,
back, I loved when I saw that. It's like, right, so I'm in for a wild ride here, and I'm excited. And he doesn't disappoint. I mean, it's a bit of a shame, really, that he doesn't do more films like this, or he hasn't revisited this type of genre again, because I think it's such a strong entry for a heist film. We're getting something quite different, I think, to
mm,
almost most heist films that I've probably seen. You
yeah,
get those great perspectives from different characters. I
yeah,
think the dialogue is fantastic. The way that we jump in time and we see those different characters and how they react when they're in the bank versus when they have been rescued, per se, and come out. I
yeah,
think you get such kind of cool interactions between all of the characters, and that's often what really makes it. Again, it's strong dialogue, it's interesting characters. There's all these supporting actors, and some of them are like properly heavy hitters as well, which is
yeah.
is
I know.
really good. Like Willem Dafoe just randomly being in there, which is,
He's not really in it. He doesn't really do anything, does
I
he? He's
know,
just like there.
it's such an odd casting. It just makes me think they wanted a random police officer, so let's
Yeah,
cast Willem Dafoe of all people to do this
yeah.
role.
I think Spike Lee kind of by that point he's a big name
Yeah,
and people want to work with him. So why not? Why not work with him? I'm sure Willem Dafoe was like, yeah, I can come and do that.
yeah.
So
So
yeah,
I think it's great. You get some like really great performances across
yeah,
the board, and I do think even if it's hard to say as English people, I think whether we know that these versions of New York people are more like caricatures of what New York people are like, or if it's more
well,
gen.
it's interesting, like because you say that because obviously Spike Lee is a New Yorker
Yes, yeah.
and he obviously loves his city.
Mm.
He loves New York, and that I had a similar thought, and I was very mindful of the fact that obviously this story is a New York story,
Yes.
and there are New Yorkers in it, and yeah, you could say I had a sense that he really cared
Mm.
about that side of the story
Yeah.
of where it was set, and I thought it was interesting as well. I mean, I recently watched Do the Right Thing, sort of a few months back, and
Yeah.
obviously that one's got a lot of comments, things to say about kind of the police in New York and kind of
Yeah.
the racist aspect. So
Mhm.
it's really interesting that in this film, it's also set in New York, but we have the main police officers that are in it. The detectives are two black detectives,
Yeah.
and obviously it does touch upon the theme of race in there as well, which
Oh,
obviously isn't
definitely. Like
surprising.
it's carried in other actors' performances. It's in conversations, and I
Yeah,
also think Spike Lee's films, they are they're kind of a framing device often for him to talk about
yeah,
issues, have discussions about things that are very important to him, that are close to his chest, and he does it so wonderfully. Like we said in The Five Bloods was the same thing. Is he uses it as a framing device and he pulls it off incredibly well. And not so much that it detracts from the film. I think if
yeah,
anything, it adds to
yeah,
the performances of what is going
yeah.
on.
And
It,
that's one thing I would say. I think that a lot of these characters feel that they feel like three-dimensional characters. They're not just there to make things look nice and to say the lines. Actually, a lot of the characters are fairly well fleshed out
yeah,
and they're interesting. Um, so let's talk about some of those performances. Obviously, the main man, Denzel, is rocking it in this. I mean, he's just so charismatic
yeah, he's
and
great. He's
just
really good.
just fun, and you can tell he's having fun in this.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell. I think you can tell that mostly anyone in this film is really enjoying themselves. I think that they're clearly know what they're doing and they're making the most of it. Even, you've even got a child actor in there and he does a great job as well. I think
Yeah,
across the board, I was trying to think about people that particularly stand out for me. I mean, obviously you've got the gravitas of someone like Christopher Plummer bringing
yeah,
something great in his role. He's very good in all of his scenes, but then equally you've got alongside acting in a lot of scenes with him, you have Jodie Foster, and she again is
yeah,
fantastic. I mean, I think she's always good.
yeah,
Very rarely have I found many films where I can think she didn't really hit the mark there. I think she's a
yeah,
great casting choice for this, and you kind of have, I think you have a little bit of something invested in almost every character, and that's when you know you're watching something good.
yeah.
I think if anything, it's quite hard to find someone that didn't really deliver, and
True.
I think it has to work like that. It's very important because the whole mystery surrounding who actually is robbing the bank, who's performing the heist, isn't it? Because other than you mainly seeing, you're mainly seeing just one of them, aren't you? That's effectively robbing the bank, but you're not seeing kind of the rest. Or they're all calling each other by the same name, and
Yeah,
you kind of get that. And so, other than seeing him at the very beginning of the film talking about what he's planning to do or why he did what he did, which is
yeah,
great, by the way, you
yeah,
you have to kind of get to know all of the people inside of the bank to kind of get the element of keeping you guessing, along with kind of working it out alongside the detectives, aren't you?
yeah. Which
It's
is
good.
fun. It's
Yeah,
fun, isn't it? It's so clever.
yeah,
Um, I think what I was going to say about Jodie Foster as well. I think her character has to be that, she's meant to be smart, charming, and obviously she's beautiful. But if you mess with her, she has this kind of undertone of like, don't mess with me, and
the threatening very
she
well.
nails it so well.
Yeah,
And certainly her scenes with Denzel, particularly when he's like challenging her,
yeah,
they're a lot of fun. You're kind of wondering where they're going to go.
yeah.
So yeah, I think there's so many good things about this film. I think we've said a lot of the good things that I've got written down here. One moment that particularly stands out is probably the best use of the C word I think I've heard in a film for a while.
I've got it written down. I do have it written down as well.
Because I saw this before you, and I just said, wait till I think it's about 38 minutes in. And it was one of those moments, had I had a mouthful of drink, I might have just gone, spat it out.
I mean, I'm not a fan of the C bomb, but it is absolutely amazing drop of it.
It
It's
is.
so good. It's well deserved, I have to say. I mean, it's shocking, but shocking to a point. It does work in terms
Yeah,
of elevating the conversation. You get the dynamic between the characters. So
yeah,
all of that is great. And I was obviously a good shout out to Colin as well. He's I think he's sorry, Clive rather. Clive Owen
Clive.
is,
I
yeah.
was thinking,
It's
who's
like,
Colin?
who am I talking about here? You can tell it's late.
Clive,
So
yeah, no, he's great. He
Clive
is.
is, yeah, he's doing a good job here. I think he
Yeah,
is interesting in all the scenes he's in. I think the negative points that I marked against it were
yeah,
that one, it probably could have been a little bit shorter. I think in my
yeah,
mind, it doesn't need to necessarily be as long as it is. I think they could have shaped it in places, and it. I understand the use of swearing in terms of threatening behavior, I guess, in certain areas, but they probably could have also taken some of that back, and I don't think they would have lost anything from the film. If
yeah.
anything, it's
Okay.
not always needed. I understand sometimes it might be in the vernacular of the characters that it is more realistic, and he
Yeah,
wants to get a sense of realism from it. But
it's
I
fair.
think it has a good dialing of funny and threatening and being a good thriller. So it's kind of got
Yeah,
everything on that mark.
full entertainment package.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say as well. Like my one thought was I wonder whether it's perhaps trying to be a bit too clever at times. Perhaps there's like one too many sort of stories that are trying to kind of pull off. I think the one with Denzel's character kind of looming in the background of him kind of having, there's this missing money from a job that he was working on. Maybe didn't need that. And again, that would be chopping out some of the time. I think, because I was trying to work out, because actually I was umming and ahhing between a 4 and a 4.5. But yeah, I went for the 4. So, but I think, it is what it is. I think it's a really good sort of heist thriller.
Yeah.
It's fun. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. Any other thoughts, Brendan?
No, I think it mainly sums it up. It's very, like you say, it's quite easy to watch. Even though I criticized it slightly on time, I think there wasn't a moment where I felt I wanted to pause or I lost interest in any kind of thing. I think it's great throughout, and you even have you have Spike Lee's signature moment, don't you? Where I have to call it out, where you have him kind of, I don't know what that kind of shot is called, but where Denzel is kind of moving, looks like he's kind of floating towards the camera.
Oh yeah, it's great.
He does. I mean, he does that in like basically every film. It's
pretty much most of it. I loved that. As soon as that came in, I was like, okay, yeah,
great.
Cool.
It's great, and I know some people would probably say it takes them out of it, but I actually
no,
it.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I also like the end as well. Like it was kind of, not everyone does that style finish where it has an image or a clip of the character and then the actor's name. I thought it was quite fun.
That's great. I love those. I really love when they do that.
It's a little cheesy, but actually, I think if you can kind of go with it, it's funny and
it
fun.
works for this film.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably it for today for our review of Inside Man. It's a hearty recommendation from A Shot Between the Reels.
It is.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it in a while or never seen it before, why not give it a go? Where did you watch it, Brad? It was Netflix, wasn't it? We watched it.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you've got Netflix, get on it.
Get on it.
Get on it. You can do it. It'll be an enjoyable afternoon or evening or morning, depending on what time you watch it.
Whenever.
Brendan, it's always a pleasure.
Always.
So I'm off to the cinema now. The actual cinema. So we were revealing kind of, we don't record these and then put them out. We record them and then edit them later. But yeah, I am about to go and see Tenet. You're seeing it soon, Friday?
I'm seeing it on Friday, yes.
Cool. So I'm so excited. But I need to go. So well, Brendan, see you soon. Everyone else, bye.
Bye.
Bye.